The arrival. The first sign that something was amiss came on a quiet Tuesday morning. Dr. Samantha Chen, lead astronomer at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, nearly spilled her coffee as she stared at the readings on her monitor. The radio signals she was receiving were like nothing she'd ever seen before, structured, complex, and undeniably artificial. "This can't be right," she muttered, fingers flying across her keyboard as she ran diagnostics and rechecked her equipment. But the signals persisted, growing stronger with each passing minute. Halfway across the world, in a bustling control room at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, Flight Director Marcus Rivera was facing a similar conundrum. The Deep Space Network, Earth's system of giant radio antennas, was picking up anomalous readings from the edge of the solar system. "It's moving too fast," Marcus said, his voice tight with tension as he addressed his team. "Whatever this is, it's not natural, and it's headed straight for us." As word spread through scientific communities and government agencies, the world held its breath. Speculation ran wild. Was this first contact with an alien civilization, a natural phenomenon we'd never encountered before, or something far more sinister? The answer came 3 days later, in a display that shattered any remaining doubts about humanity's place in the universe. Major Elena Volkov of the International Space Station was the first to see them with her own eyes. As she peered out of the cupola, the station's observatory module, her heart nearly stopped. A fleet of sleek, dark vessels had appeared seemingly out of nowhere, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly sheen that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. "Houston, we have multiple unidentified objects," Elena reported, her usually steady voice wavering. "They're unlike anything I've ever seen. Estimate at least 50 large vessels, possibly more." As Elena's report was relayed to Earth, the alien fleet made its presence known to the entire planet. In a simultaneous broadcast that overrode every television channel, radio station, and internet connection, a message played in every language known to humanity. "People of Earth, your time of isolation has come to an end. We are the Zarkoth, and we have come to claim this world as our own. Resistance is futile. Surrender, and you may yet have a place in the new order we will establish." The message was accompanied by a demonstration of power that left no doubt about the aliens' capabilities. In major cities across the globe, New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, Tokyo, massive energy beams lanced down from the sky, carving precise, mile-wide circles into the earth. The destruction was surgical, calculated to minimize loss of life, while maximizing terror. As panic gripped the world, leaders scrambled to respond. In Washington, D.C., President Isabella Martinez called an emergency meeting of her national security team. "What are our options?" she demanded, her eyes blazing with determination as she surveyed the grim faces around her. Defense Secretary James Wong shook his head. "Madam President, our most advanced weapons systems are like slingshots compared to what these aliens have. A military response at this point would be suicide. So we just roll over and surrender our planet," General Sarah O'Neill, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, growled. "With all due respect, that's not an option." As the argument heated up, a quiet voice cut through the tension. Dr. David Okoro, the brilliant but often overlooked head of DARPA's Emerging Technologies Division, cleared his throat. "If I may, Madam President," he began, his Nigerian accent thick with emotion, "I believe we have a chance, not with brute force, but with something the Zarkoth might not expect: human ingenuity." All eyes turned to David as he continued, "We've been working on experimental quantum communication technology. If we can adapt it quickly enough, we might be able to coordinate a global response without the aliens intercepting our transmissions." President Martinez leaned forward, a spark of hope kindling in her eyes. "How quickly can you make this happen, Dr. Okoro?" David took a deep breath. With a global effort, pooling resources from every major tech company and research institution, maybe 2 weeks. "But Madam President, we'll need time. We need to buy that time. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They would need to engage in diplomacy with an enemy that had already declared its intention to conquer Earth. It was a long shot, but it was the only shot they had. Very well, President Martinez said, her voice filled with grim resolve. We'll open channels of communication with the Zarkov. But make no mistake, this is not surrender. This is humanity playing for time. As the meeting adjourned, the weight of the task ahead settled on everyone's shoulders. The next 2 weeks would determine the fate of humanity. The clock was ticking, and the greatest challenge in human history had only just begun. Across the globe, as news of the alien ultimatum spread, reactions varied wildly. In some places, panic led to riots and looting. In others, people came together, forming communities of mutual support and resistance. Churches, mosques, and temples filled with those seeking solace or answers in faith. In Silicon Valley, tech giants put aside their rivalries, pooling resources and talent to assist Dr. Okoro's team. In universities worldwide, scientists and researchers worked around the clock, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge in a desperate race against time. And in a small town in the heartland of America, a retired engineer named Frank Thompson looked up at the stars, his weathered hands clenched into fists. "We've faced long odds before," he muttered to himself. "We'll face 'em again. Earth is our home, and we ain't giving it up without a fight." As the first day of the invasion drew to a close, humanity stood on the precipice of a new era. The Zarkov had arrived, but they were about to learn a crucial lesson. When pushed to the brink, humans don't just survive, they thrive. The stage was set for a conflict that would test the very limits of human resilience, ingenuity, and determination. The battle for Earth had begun, and humanity was ready to show the universe exactly what they were made of. First contact. As dawn broke on the 7th day of the Zarkov occupation, the United Nations General Assembly convened in an unprecedented emergency session. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered, their faces etched with worry and determination. At the center of it all stood Dr. Amelia Xiang, the newly appointed head of the Global Diplomatic Initiative. "We must approach this with caution." Dr. Xiang addressed the assembly, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "Our goal is to buy time for Dr. Okoro and his team. We engage, we negotiate, but we do not capitulate." As the diplomat spoke, screens around the chamber flickered to life, displaying the imposing visage of the Zarkov leader. The alien's form was vaguely humanoid, but with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors with each movement. Its eyes, multifaceted like those of an insect, regarded the human assembly with cold calculation. "I am Zarlak, overseer of the Zarkov expansion." The alien's voice reverberated through the chamber, a symphony of harmonics that set teeth on edge. "We have allowed this assembly as a courtesy. State your terms of surrender." Dr. Xiang stepped forward, her chin held high. "Overseer Zarlak, we do not come to surrender, but to negotiate. Surely, beings of your advanced nature can see the value in peaceful coexistence." A sound that might have been laughter emanated from the Zarkov leader. "Coexistence? Your species barely coexists with itself. We offer order, progress, the chance to be part of something greater than your petty squabbles." As the negotiations continued, it became clear that the Zarkov had no interest in compromise. They viewed Earth as a resource to be exploited, humans as a primitive species to be subjugated or eliminated. Meanwhile, in laboratories and workshops around the world, humanity's brightest minds raced against time. Dr. David Okoro's team had made progress on the quantum communication device, but they needed more time. In an underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Okoro pored over schematics with his international team. "We're close," he muttered, rubbing his tired eyes. "But the power requirements are still too high. We need a breakthrough." As if in answer to his plea, the facility's comm system crackled to life. Dr. Okoro. It was Frank Thompson, the retired engineer from the heartland. I think I might have something that could help. Thousands of miles away, aboard the International Space Station, Major Elena Volkov made a startling discovery. As she monitored the Zarkov fleet, she noticed a pattern in their movements. "Houston, are you seeing this?" She radioed down to Mission Control. "There's a rhythm to their patrol routes, almost like they're avoiding something." Back on Earth, as the diplomatic talks reached a stalemate, the Zarkov decided to demonstrate their power once more. Energy beams lanced down from their ships, targeting military installations around the globe. Bases were vaporized, naval fleets reduced to molten slag. In Washington, D.C., President Martinez watched the destruction unfold on multiple screens, her fists clenched at her sides. "We need options," she growled to her advisors. "I will not stand by while our people are slaughtered." General O'Neill stepped forward, her face grim but determined. "Madam President, we've been analyzing the alien attacks. There's a pattern, a vulnerability we might be able to exploit." As the general outlined her plan, a spark of hope ignited in the war room. It was dangerous, possibly suicidal, but it was a chance. Across the planet, humanity's resistance began to take shape. In the streets of Paris, a group of hackers led by a young prodigy named Sophie Durand had managed to crack a portion of the Zarkov communication codes. "It's not much," Sophie told her team, her fingers flying across her keyboard. "But it's a start. We can use this to disrupt their coordination." In the dense jungles of Brazil, indigenous tribes with intimate knowledge of the rainforest ecosystem began to notice something odd. The alien ships seemed to avoid certain areas rich in a rare mineral unknown to modern science. Chief Raoni of the Kayapo people reached out to the scientific community with this crucial information. As the second week of the invasion drew to a close, humanity stood on a knife's edge. The Zarkov's patience was wearing thin, their demands for surrender growing more insistent. But in labs, in secret bases, in the hearts and minds of people around the world, a spark of defiance burned ever brighter. Dr. Xiang, exhausted from days of fruitless negotiation, addressed the UN Assembly once more. "We have bought some time," she said, her voice hoarse but unwavering. "Now we must use it wisely. The Zarkov believe us weak, divided. We must show them the true strength of humanity." In that moment, as if in answer to her words, reports began flooding in from around the globe. Pockets of resistance were forming, small victories were being won. A Zarkov scout ship had been brought down in the Australian outback. The communication relay had been sabotaged in the Alps. President Martinez, upon receiving these reports, allowed herself a small, grim smile. "Send word to all our allies," she ordered. "It's time to show these aliens what happens when you back humanity into a corner." As night fell on the 14th day of the invasion, the world held its breath. The Zarkov ultimatum was set to expire at dawn. But unbeknownst to the alien invaders, humanity was far from defeated. In labs, in military bases, in city streets and remote villages, people were preparing. The battle for Earth was about to enter a new phase, and humanity was ready to fight back with everything they had. The Zarkov were about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate the human spirit when it's pushed to the brink. The turning point. As the first rays of sunlight crept over the horizon on the 15th day of the invasion, an eerie silence blanketed the Earth. The Zarkov ultimatum had expired, and humanity braced for the worst. In the depths of the Rocky Mountain facility, Dr. David Okoro's team worked feverishly, fueled by a cocktail of caffeine and desperation. The breakthrough they needed came from an unexpected source. Frank Thompson's insight combined with the strange mineral discovered by the Kayapo tribe in Brazil. "It's working," Dr. Okoro exclaimed, his eyes wide with disbelief as the quantum communication device hummed to life. "Quick, send the signal." Across the globe, hidden transmitters activated, broadcasting on a frequency undetectable to Zarkov sensors. For the first time since the invasion began, Humanity had a secure, instantaneous global communication network. President Martinez's voice crackled through the system, reaching military commanders, resistance leaders, and key scientists simultaneously. Operation Prometheus is go. I repeat, Prometheus is go. In orbit, Major Elena Volkov received the message and sprung into action. Using the patterns she had observed in Zarkov fleet movements, she maneuvered the International Space Station into a critical position. "Package is in place," she reported, her voice tense but steady. On the ground, Sophie Durand and her team of hackers launched a coordinated cyber assault on Zarkov systems. Exploiting the weaknesses they had discovered in the alien communication codes, they sowed chaos in the invaders' carefully coordinated operations. As the Zarkov struggled to respond to this unexpected disruption, humanity struck back. General O'Neill's plan unfolded with precision. Military forces around the world, their movements masked by the quantum network, launched a series of strategic strikes against key Zarkov positions. In the skies above New York, a squadron of fighter jets engaged a Zarkov cruiser. The alien vessel's superior technology initially gave it the upper hand, but the human pilots fought with a ferocity and unpredictability that caught the invaders off guard. "Remember the plan," Squadron leader Maya Rodriguez shouted over the comms. "Maneuver Theta." Now, the fighters broke formation, executing a complex series of moves that seemed chaotic but was precisely choreographed. As they darted and weaved, the Zarkov ship's energy weapons lashed out, missing the agile Earthcraft, but striking something unseen in orbit. Aboard the International Space Station, Major Volkov watched as the invisible shield generator they had positioned was struck by the Zarkov's own weapon. The device, reverse-engineered from salvaged alien tech, activated on impact. A shimmering energy field expanded outward, enveloping a large portion of the Earth's atmosphere. For a moment, everything seemed to hang in the balance. Then, with a sound like thunder, the Zarkov cruiser's weapons fire rebounded off the shield, striking the alien vessel. Explosions blossomed along its hull as it listed, then plummeted from the sky. Around the world, similar scenes played out. The quantum network allowed human forces to coordinate with unprecedented efficiency, striking at Zarkov weak points and retreating before the aliens could mount an effective counterattack. In the UN Assembly Hall, Dr. Xian watched the reports flood in, her heart pounding. She turned to address the Zarkov leader, whose image still dominated the main screen. "It seems, Overseer Zarlak, that you may have underestimated us." The alien's multifaceted eyes narrowed, its iridescent skin flushing with what might have been anger. "This changes nothing," Zarlak hissed. "You have merely provoked us into unleashing our full might." As if to punctuate the threat, Zarkov motherships began to descend from high orbit, their massive forms casting shadows over major cities worldwide. In Washington, D.C., President Martinez received the news with grim determination. "They're bringing out the big guns," she murmured. "Time for Phase 2. Contact Chief Raoni." Deep in the Amazon rainforest, Chief Raoni led a team of scientists to a hidden cave. Inside, deposits of the strange mineral glowed with an otherworldly light. "Our ancestors spoke of this," Raoni explained. "They called it star metal, a gift from the sky that repels the sky demons." Dr. Melissa Chen, a geologist working with Raoni's team, scanned the mineral with a device linked to the quantum network. "The energy signature is off the charts," she reported. "If we can replicate this on a large scale." Back in the Rocky Mountain facility, Dr. Okoro received the data. "This is it," he exclaimed. "The missing piece we needed. With this, we can create a planetary shield." As the Zarkov motherships prepared to unleash devastation, humanity raced against time. The quantum network hummed with activity as scientists, engineers, and even ordinary citizens contributed ideas and efforts to the SHIELD project. In orbit, Major Volkov coordinated with ground teams to position SHIELD generators at key points around the globe. Each one was imbued with a synthesized version of the star metal, creating a network of interlocking energy fields. The Zarkov, sensing that something was amiss, launched a full-scale assault. Energy beams powerful enough to split continents lanced down from their motherships. But as they struck the nascent planetary shield, something extraordinary happened. Instead of destroying their targets, the beams were absorbed, redirected, and amplified. The shield glowed with increasing intensity, drawing power from the very attacks meant to destroy it. In the Yuvan Assembly Hall, Dr. Xiang allowed herself a small, fierce smile as she addressed Overseer Zarlak. Perhaps now you'd like to revisit those negotiations. For the first time since their arrival, the Zarkov leader seemed uncertain. The invaders had not expected this level of resistance, this display of ingenuity and unity from a species they had dismissed as primitive. As the shield continued to strengthen, powered by the Zarkov's own weapons, a cheer went up from humans around the world. They had weathered the storm, stood against impossible odds, and found a way to fight back. But even as they celebrated this victory, the leaders of Earth's resistance knew that the war was far from over. The Zarkov were wounded, but not defeated. The battle for Earth had entered a new phase, and humanity would need every ounce of courage, creativity, and determination to see it through. In labs and command centers, in the streets of cities and the depths of jungles, people steeled themselves for the challenges ahead. The Zarkov had awakened a sleeping giant, and now they would face the full fury of a united Earth. Resistance rising. The planetary shield hummed with energy, a testament to human ingenuity and the unexpected alliance between cutting-edge science and ancient wisdom. But as the initial euphoria of survival faded, the true scale of the challenge ahead became clear. In a secure bunker beneath the Pentagon, President Martinez convened an emergency meeting of the newly formed Earth Defense Council. Representatives from every nation joined via the quantum network, their faces grim but determined. "We've survived their first assault," Martinez began, her voice steady. "But make no mistake, this is just the beginning. The Zarkov won't give up easily." General O'Neill stepped forward, activating a holographic display of Earth and the surrounding space. "The good news is we've pushed them back. The bad news, they're regrouping, and our intel suggests they're calling for reinforcements." Dr. Okoro, joining from the Rocky Mountain facility, spoke up. "The shield will hold, but it's not a long-term solution. We need to take the fight to them." As the council debated strategies, an alert came through the quantum network. Sophie Duran, the young hacker prodigy, had made a breakthrough. "We've cracked more of their communication protocols," she reported, her eyes bright with excitement. "And you're not going to believe what we found." The information Sophie and her team uncovered was staggering. The Zarkov, for all their advanced technology, were not the unstoppable force they appeared to be. They were scouts, the vanguard of a much larger empire, sent to assess and conquer easy targets. "They expected us to roll over," Sophie explained. "They're not equipped for a prolonged conflict. More importantly, they can't afford to lose. If word gets back to their empire that they were defeated by a primitive species." The implications were clear. Earth had a chance, but they needed to act fast. Across the globe, the resistance movement shifted into high gear. In Japan, a team led by robotics expert Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka began reverse engineering salvage Zarkov technology, integrating it with Earth's most advanced AI systems. "We're creating a new generation of combat mechs," Dr. Tanaka explained to the Defense Council. "Piloted by humans but augmented with alien tech. We're calling them the Titan series." In the vast steppes of Mongolia, cavalry units trained to pilot nimble aircraft designed to outmaneuver the bulky Zarkov ships. Led by Colonel Babayar, these Sky Riders, as they came to be known, would become a crucial element in Earth's counteroffensive. Meanwhile, in the depths of the ocean, a joint task force of marine biologists and naval engineers worked on Project Leviathan. Dr. Isabella Moreno, speaking from a submarine base in the Mariana Trench, unveiled their creation. A fleet of biomechanical submersibles capable of striking Zarkov ships from beneath the waves. The oceans are Earth's greatest untapped resource, Dr. Moreno explained. The Zarkov have focused on land and air. We'll hit them where they least expect it. As these projects and countless others progressed, humanity's resolve strengthened. The Zarkov attempts to break the planetary shield grew more desperate, but each attack only served to galvanize Earth's defenders. In cities around the world, civilian militias trained alongside professional soldiers. People from all walks of life volunteered for the resistance, bringing diverse skills and perspectives to the fight. Farmers adapted their machinery to serve as mobile repair units for damaged defense systems. Teachers turned their skills to training new recruits in tactics and alien language decryption. Artists created powerful propaganda that boosted morale and unit cohesion. The quantum network, once a tool for scientific collaboration, became the nervous system of the global resistance. Ideas flowed freely across borders, with solutions to local problems quickly adapted and implemented worldwide. In orbit, Major Elena Volkov coordinated the growing fleet of Earth defense satellites. The International Space Station, once a symbol of scientific cooperation, had been transformed into the command center for humanity's space-based defenses. "We're no longer just reacting," Volkov reported to the Defense Council. "We're taking the initiative." The Zarkov are losing their superiority in orbit. But even as humanity made strides, the Zarkov were far from defeated. Overseer Zarlak, smarting from the unexpected resistance, changed tactics. Instead of brute force attacks on the shield, the aliens began targeting Earth's infrastructure with precision strikes. Power grids flickered, communication networks, outside the quantum system, were disrupted and vital supply lines came under attack. The Zarkov hoped to wear down human resolve through attrition. In response, communities around the world doubled down on resilience and self-sufficiency. Rooftop gardens sprang up in cities, local energy grids were hardened against attack, and neighborhood watch groups evolved into well-organized civil defense units. In Africa, a coalition led by engineer Kwame Oseed developed a network of solar-powered microgrids, ensuring that even if main power sources were knocked out, essential services could continue. "We're not just fighting for survival," Osei told a group of reporters. "We're building a better world in the process. The Zarkov thought they could break us, but they've only made us stronger." As the conflict stretched into its third month, both sides found themselves in a war of attrition. The Zarkov, unable to break the planetary shield, resorted to psychological warfare, broadcasting messages of doom and inevitability. But humanity had faced extinction before, from its own nuclear weapons, from climate change, from pandemics. Each time, they had pulled back from the brink. This time would be no different. In a powerful address broadcast globally and into space, in a language the Zarkov could understand, President Martinez laid out humanity's terms. "To the Zarkov Empire, we did not seek this conflict, but we will end it. Earth is our home, and we will defend it with every fiber of our being. You came expecting easy conquest. Instead, you've awakened a sleeping giant. We offer you one chance. Leave now and never return. Stay and face the full might of a united Earth." As her words echoed across the planet and into the depths of space, humanity steeled itself for the next phase of the war. They had survived the initial onslaught. They had found their footing and begun to fight back. Now it was time to take the battle to the stars. The Zarkov had started this war, but humanity was determined to finish it. The final confrontation loomed, and Earth's defenders were ready to show the galaxy why you should never, ever underestimate the human spirit. The final stand. 6 months into the Zarkov invasion, Earth had been transformed. Cities bore the scars of alien attacks, but also showcased humanity's resilience. Gleaming shield generators stood alongside ancient monuments, a blend of old and new that symbolized Earth's determination to survive and thrive. In the skies above New Delhi, a squadron of Titan mechs engaged a Zarkov patrol. The mechs, piloted by a multinational team, moved with a fluidity that belied their massive size. Leading the charge was Captain Aisha Patel, her voice calm but commanding as she coordinated the attack. Titan 3, watch your flank. Titan 7, press the advantage. The battle was fierce but brief. As the last Zarkov ship fell from the sky, a cheer went up from the ground below. Similar scenes played out across the globe. Humanity had not only held its ground but was beginning to push back. The Sky Riders of Mongolia harassed Zarkov supply lines, while Project Leviathan's submersibles struck from the depths, keeping the aliens off balance. But in high orbit, aboard the Zarkov command ship, Overseer Zarlak seethed with rage and desperation. Enough of this, he roared to his subordinates. Prepare the Worldbreaker. If we cannot have this planet, no one will. The Worldbreaker, a massive energy weapon capable of shattering a planet's crust, began to power up. It was the Zarkov's final, terrible gambit. As sensors around the world detected the energy buildup, alarms spread through the quantum network. In the Pentagon bunker, the Earth Defense Council convened an emergency session. We always knew they might resort to this, President Martinez said grimly. It's time for Operation Starfall. General O'Neill nodded, her face set with determination. All units, this is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Operation Starfall is go. Across the planet, humanity's secret weapon was unveiled. In hidden bases and camouflaged facilities, massive rockets roared to life. These were no ordinary spacecraft, but a fleet of heavily armed and armored vessels, built in secret using a combination of reverse-engineered Zarkov technology and humanity's own innovations. Dr. Okoro's voice came through the quantum network, tense but excited. The star metal reactors are stable. Shields are at maximum capacity. We're as ready as we'll ever be. As the Earth fleet rose into the sky, Major Elena Volkov took command from her position on the upgraded International Space Station. All ships, form up. We have one shot at this. Let's make it count. The battle that followed would be remembered for generations as one of the most epic confrontations in human history. Earth's ships, though fewer in number, fought with a ferocity and creativity that caught the Zarkov off guard. Sophie Durand and her team of hackers worked tirelessly, disrupting Zarkov communications and feeding false information into their networks. Let's see how they like a taste of their own medicine. Sophie grinned as she unleashed a virus that turned some of the alien ships against each other. In the thick of the battle, Captain Patel's Titan squad, adapted for space combat, engaged in close quarters fighting with Zarkov cruisers. The mech's humanoid form allowed for maneuvers that the alien ships, designed for overwhelming firepower, couldn't match. But even as Earth's forces pressed their advantage, the Worldbreaker continued to power up. Its energy readings were off the charts, threatening to overwhelm even the enhanced planetary shield. We need to take out that weapon. Volkov's voice crackled through the comms. All ships, concentrate fire on the Worldbreaker. The Earth fleet converged on the massive Zarkov flagship, braving a gauntlet of energy beams and plasma torpedoes. Ships on both sides fell, the void of space lit up by explosions that rivaled the stars in brightness. In a desperate gambit, Captain Patel made a decision. This is Titan 1. I'm going in. Before anyone could stop her, she piloted her mech straight for the Worldbreaker's main emitter. Aisha, no. Dr. Tanaka's voice came through, filled with anguish. The reactor, if it breaches. I know, Patel replied calmly. It's been an honor serving with you all. For Earth. With that, Titan 1 plunged into the heart of the Worldbreaker. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, a blinding flash lit up the sky, visible even from the planet's surface. The Worldbreaker exploded, taking a significant portion of the Zarkov fleet with it, Captain Patel's sacrifice had turned the tide of the battle. As the remaining Earth ships pressed their advantage, Overseer Zarlak's voice boomed across all frequencies. Enough. We surrender. Call off your attack. In the Pentagon bunker, a stunned silence fell over the Earth Defense Council. Then, President Martinez stepped forward, her voice filled with a mixture of relief and steel. Overseer Zarlak, we accept your surrender. Unconditionally. The terms of the surrender were swift and absolute. The Zarkov were to leave the solar system immediately, never to return. They would send a message to their empire, declaring Earth off-limits for colonization or conquest. As the alien ships retreated, limping away from the battlefield they had so arrogantly entered months before, cheers erupted around the world. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. In the days that followed, as the dust of battle settled and the work of rebuilding began, Earth found itself changed. The threat of alien invasion had united humanity in a way nothing else could. Borders that once divided nations now seemed arbitrary in the face of a united planet. The technology developed to fight the Zarkov opened new frontiers. The quantum network became the foundation for a new global society. The star metal reactors promised clean, near-limitless energy. The space fleet, once a desperate gambit for survival, now represented humanity's first real step into the cosmos. At a ceremony honoring the fallen and celebrating Earth's victory, President Martinez addressed a global audience. We came to the brink of extinction, but instead found our strength. We faced an enemy that thought us weak and divided, and showed them the indomitable spirit of a united Earth. As we rebuild and look to the stars, let us remember this. We are not merely citizens of nations, but custodians of our planet and ambassadors to the cosmos. The Zarkov came to conquer Earth, but instead, they awakened a sleeping giant. Let all who would threaten our home know this. Humanity stands ready. We will not go gentle into that good night. We will rage against any dying of the light. For we are humanity, and this is our world. As the cheers of billions echoed around the globe and into space, a new chapter in human history began. The stars, once distant and unreachable, now beckoned. And humanity, tested by fire and stronger for it, was ready to answer the call. The Zarkov had come to end human civilization. Instead, they had catapulted it into a new age of unity, purpose, and interstellar destiny. The galaxy would never be the same again.